The Promised Land Revealed, following biblical prophecy to understand the Israel-Palestinian conflict. The Israel-Palestinian conflict is a complex and multifaceted issue with historical, political, and religious dimensions. From a biblical perspective, the conflict can be traced back to the ancient history of the region and the promises and conflicts involving the descendants of Abraham. Historical origins. According to biblical accounts, God made a covenant with Abraham, promising him a land for his descendants. Abraham's son Isaac and grandson Jacob, also known as Israel, became the ancestors of the Israelite people. The Israelites eventually settled in the land of Canaan, which encompasses present-day Israel and Palestine. However, over the centuries, various empires, including the Assyrians, Babylonians, Persians, Greeks, and Romans, exerted control over the land and displaced the Israelites. The Jewish people experienced diaspora, scattering throughout different nations, while still maintaining a connection to the land of Israel. In the 7th century CE, the Islamic conquest of the region began, and Arab Muslims became the majority population. Modern conflict. The modern Israel-Palestinian conflict emerged in the 20th century, primarily due to competing national aspirations and territorial claims. During the British Mandate for Palestine, 1920 to 1948, Jewish immigration increased, leading to tensions between Jewish settlers and Arab inhabitants. The United Nations proposed a partition plan in 1947 to establish separate Jewish and Arab states, but it was rejected by the Arab nations, leading to a war in 1948. Since then, there have been several wars, uprisings, and negotiations between Israelis and Palestinians, with both sides claiming the right to self-determination and sovereignty over the land. The core issues include borders, settlements, the status of Jerusalem, security, and the right of return for Palestinian refugees. Bible prophecy and resolution. The Bible contains various prophecies that some interpret as having implications for the Israel-Palestinian conflict. Different religious and theological perspectives exist on how these prophecies will be fulfilled and how the conflict will be resolved. One interpretation suggests that a resolution will involve a period of peace and reconciliation, often referred to as the Messianic Age. This perspective envisions a time when all nations will recognize God's sovereignty, and conflicts will be resolved through divine intervention and the establishment of God's kingdom on earth. Certainly. Here are some additional details regarding the Israel-Palestinian conflict from a biblical perspective. The Promised Land. According to biblical narratives, God made a covenant with Abraham, promising him and his descendants the land of Canaan as an everlasting possession. Genesis 17 verse 8. This promise was reiterated to Abraham's son Isaac and his grandson Jacob, who was renamed Israel. The concept of the Promised Land forms the foundation for Jewish claims to the territory. Jerusalem. Jerusalem holds immense religious significance for Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. It is mentioned numerous times in the Bible, particularly in relation to the Jewish temples and the ministry of Jesus Christ. The city's status has been a contentious issue, with both Israelis and Palestinians asserting their right to control and sovereignty over Jerusalem. Jewish return to Israel. The idea of Jewish return to the land of Israel is a significant theme in biblical prophecies. According to the book of Ezekiel, the prophet foresaw the restoration of Israel and the gathering of the scattered Israelites from the nations where they were dispersed, Ezekiel 36-37. The establishment of the modern state of Israel in 1948 is often seen by some as a fulfillment of these prophecies. Peace and reconciliation. The Bible also contains prophecies that point to a future time of peace and reconciliation between nations. One such prophecy is found in the book of Isaiah, which envisions a time when swords will be turned into plowshares and nations will no longer engage in war. Isaiah 2 verse 4. Many hope for a resolution to the Israel-Palestinian conflict that aligns with these visions of peace and harmony. It is important to note that interpretations of biblical prophecies vary among religious and theological traditions. The Israel-Palestinian conflict is a complex issue, influenced by political, historical, and social factors alongside religious beliefs. Resolving the conflict involves intricate negotiations, diplomacy, and a commitment to finding mutually acceptable solutions for both Israelis and Palestinians.